Comedian and host of The Daily Show, Jon Stewart, came out in defense of Joe Rogan during a recent interview.
Stewart was asked about his appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast, despite many on the left having a strong dislike of Rogan. But in speaking to David Remnick, editor of New York Magazine, Stewart says he believes some of those concerns were misguided. Take a look.
That guy is a curious comic who fell into this thing that got f***ing enormous, maybe doesn't, has opinions all over the political spectrum, but has tendencies that people on the left does not fit the aesthetic. He's a hunter.
In fairness, he's had people on who are kind of Nazi curious. That's not good.
I've interviewed Kissinger. And he was carpet bomb curious. I don't know what to say.
Later on in the interview, Stewart continued with his message of trying to bridge the gap between liberals and conservatives.
I've got people in my family that are to the right of Attila the Hun. And when people tell me, how can you platform that person on your show? I go, I platform my uncle every Thanksgiving. And by the way, I love him. He's a three-dimensional human being who has qualities that I really admire, things about him. And we've lost that. We've lost the ability to love people because we litmus test at every point.
Now, some people on the left didn't care for Stewart's comments. Journalist Jeremy Fassler says on X, quote, "We'd come so much closer to solving racism in America if white people realized the nice relatives they sit across from at Thanksgiving wouldn't be so nice to them if they weren't white." And writer Josh Olson says, quote, "The right wants to take basic human rights away from multiple members of my family and other people I love. No one who shares those views is welcome in my home or my family, ever. Jon Stewart is so wrong on this. It's jaw-dropping."
No, I say the opposite. I say right on, Jon Stewart. I thought those remarks were fantastic and, again, demonstrate his talent and independent thinking, even when I don't always agree with him. He explained Joe Rogan quite well. Joe Rogan is a comedian and actor and game show host who is curious and started doing this podcast where he platforms, even that word is getting to be so annoying. He interviews, has conversations with a wide variety of people, from people on the right, the very far right, to people on the very far left, including Bernie Sanders. This is one of the biggest shows there is. The audience is massive. If Kamala Harris had availed herself of the opportunity to be on it and do a good job, it would have helped her. She lacked, I think, confidence that she would do a good job, so she didn't do it. Not every single Rogan episode or interview takes the conversation in exactly a direction I would or I like, but that's fine. It's not exactly for me. It's for a wide swath of real Americans who have confusing views and views that are all over the place, that have right-wing views on social issues and left-wing views on economic issues, or vice versa. And David Remnick was like, "Oh, this is Nazi adjacent." Well, yeah, people have Nazi-adjacent views out there, and you could no longer just ignore this kind of speaks to what I talked about in my radar. We no longer live in a world where there's a small number of TV channels and a small number of book publishers and a small number of magazines, and you can effectively keep views that you think are too extreme outside of that you can keep them out of being discussed. You just can't do that anymore. The internet has made that impossible. So the reality is you're going to have to live alongside with people who are spouting views you don't agree with and find out how to. And some of these views are very dangerous and should be argued against, but you have to actually do that work, do that labor. You can't just say, it's wrong to engage them, they're going to go away. They're not going away.
Well, that's what you said about that, do the work, do the labor of arguing. You said the same thing about Fuentes earlier. People need to challenge him. That's not going to be Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's not a journalist. He's a curious guy that has people on. And a lot of times there's not enough pushback in his interviews. Sometimes there is, but for some people, like you said, it can get dangerous if somebody is just allowed and he doesn't have the capacity or didn't do the extensive research to argue them every point and they're spouting lies. Somebody might listen to it like, is that true? Did this never happen? And so there's people that are easily affected. I do believe that the American public has discernment, but sometimes if you hear somebody that's convincing enough, even somebody like me who doesn't believe that there was aliens, and then I watch that Joe Rogan podcast and I'm like, let me do my own research. Let me watch this docuseries now. And I went on a rampage. So that's how easy it is to get somebody someone's interest piqued to continue looking into an idea. And so it's not that I don't think he should have those conversations. It's just the fact that he has this massive platform with outsized influence. And so as it grew from curious guy who just, would have people on, maybe there's other people you could add to the team that if something is egregious on there or is wholly disproven, maybe there's just somebody around that could say, be in his ear or just let him know, hey, like even if it's 30 minutes after the person says it, like, hey, so I just wanted to clarify this. You brought up this point, but this thing came up and this has been disproven in these 17 ways. Can you back up your point any further? Like, I just got to ask. Like, and the man has enough money to hire somebody to do that without seeming like a grilling session or making it wholly uncomfortable. And it doesn't make him need to be a journalist. It just makes him having a little bit more responsibility, like we put on people that have massive platforms.
I mean, he hosted a debate between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray that was great. He pushed back very hard against Bari Weiss when he interviewed her on her foreign policy views. It was harsh pushback. He had on Sanjay Gupta, is that his name?
Yeah, from CNN.
To talk about how CNN had framed Joe Rogan's comments about ivermectin and correctly got Sanjay Gupta to admit that when they portrayed it as a dangerous drug, they were wrong in saying that. So I've seen him do interesting combative combative is the wrong word because he's polite and he's friendly, but adversarial or interviews where there's some kind of counterpoint offered. That's not always the case, and sometimes they're just talking about, dumb things or aliens, which I know a lot of people watching don't think, maybe you don't think, I think that's all dumb stuff because it's all, there's no aliens and there's no visitors and none of it is real and no one can present a shred of proof to that effect. But I'm happy to let them try to make their case, and they'll never say that here's the alien part. They'll say it's in a warehouse and I can't tell you where it is. Did you see our 3i Atlas interview? Stop downplaying it, okay? Something's going on out there, Robbie. You can't just explain everything. That was out there in space.
But
an object.
It's not that simple. Everything's not that simple.
Well, maybe it's out there in space as some object that is technology from some distant multiverse is different than the aliens keep visiting us. But for some reason, only in the American Southwest, and all they do is kick over trash cans and then fade into little lights.
I have another inkling of what may be happening with Jon Stewart. He's always been somebody that I like and has been very vocal. It seems like he stands firmly in what he believes.
Yeah.
Why he may be a little more lenient to open ideas that disagree with his, if you understand that Paramount Skydance bought CBS and Comedy Central, they're all under one umbrella. These are now President Trump's friends. Larry Ellison, David Ellison now own Paramount Skydance, and they're Trump's friends, and he works for Comedy Central, which is under that umbrella. He might understand, and he actually said this in a New Yorker interview, we understand that none of us are owed a platform. Right. So I think he can easily see, with the cancellation and temporary off-air situation that we had in recent history with comedians like his, he could say that, hey, that it could easily be me, and if I'm deplatformed, that's also fine, but maybe let me play ball a little bit. Let me tell people that, Joe Rogan's allowed to have whoever he wants on. I don't criticize Joe Rogan for having a softball interview with President Trump. Maybe he's trying to put that statement out early so that David and Larry could hear him loud and clear, like, I'd like to keep my job. So that also could be another layer to this that he's doing subtly and with a little tact if you're watching along and saying, this is why his tune might be a little more lenient.
Well, if I was making decisions, Jon Stewart would be one of the ones I would keep for sure, because he is interesting and he does good interviews, and I can't predict what he's going to say, and he's talented. President Trump bashed late-night host Seth Meyers after one of the comedian's segments.
Meyers discussed Trump's speech to the U.S. Navy aboard the aircraft carrier USS George Washington. The late-night host made fun of this specific moment. Take a look.
I know a lot about these ships. I know a lot about these things building. I want to know catapults, which is better, the electric or the steam? They're spending billions of dollars to build stupid electric. And the problem, when it breaks, you have to send up to MIT, get the most brilliant people in the world, fly them out. It's ridiculous. The steam, they said they can fix it with a hammer and a blowtorch. And it works just as well, if not better. And I love the sight of that beautiful steam pouring off that deck. With the electric, you don't have that.
And here was Meyers' reaction.
Move over, handshakes. There's about to be a new Wikipedia article. Guy spends more time thinking about catapults than Wile E. Coyote. Next. Gonna start complaining about how our troops don't tie themselves to rockets anymore. We used to strap our soldiers to the rockets and they loved it. But then everything got woke and they said you can't tie a person to a rocket, but we miss those days and we're bringing them back. I'll try my best to explain the gist of what he's talking about in a new segment we're calling Seth Translates Trump to English.
Trump then blasted Meyers on Truth Social, writing, "Seth Meyers of NBC may be the least talented person to perform live in the history of television. In fact, he may be the worst to perform live or otherwise. I watched his show the other night for the first time in years. In it, he talked endlessly about electric catapults on aircraft carriers, which I complain about as not being as good as much less expensive steam catapults. On and on he went, a truly deranged lunatic. Why does NBC waste its time and money on a guy like this? No talent, no ratings, 100% anti-Trump, which is probably illegal." I would like to say that I would like to admit, and I'm going to be very embarrassed here, that I don't know enough about electric versus steam catapults. I wish I knew more, because this is very much something that fits within my wheelhouse. Catapults, medieval architecture, medieval weaponry, siege warfare. So I was pleased to see Trump's enthusiasm for this subject and to express a strong preference. I do not know enough. I'm not informed to agree with or contradict him, but I like the spirit. But I didn't even really mind the Wile E. Coyote joke.
It was funny.
From Seth Meyers.
He tried to really hold it in. He tried to
chuckled
curl his lips in.
Because I like Looney Tunes and I think they're funny. This was not the kind of pathological anti-Trump humor that I find cringe and that he's inveighed against in the past. So I would not, on this basis, have decreed Seth Meyers to be subject to being propelled out of the castle by a steam catapult.
I like that you said don't know enough. I wish that our president would use those words often. He obviously doesn't know.
Well, maybe he does know him.
No, he doesn't know enough about late night TV. He said that it was live, and Seth Meyers can't do a good job live twice.
I'm glad he knows
Seth
something about
Meyers is
catapults.
not live. He doesn't tape the show live. He said this is the worst live performance. This man's not a live performer. It's a taped television show. Every single late night show is taped around 4 p.m.
Well,
he's been
it's
on plenty of
taped
them.
as if live.
Okay, but it's not a live television show. It's not like he's performing
This is
live
actually
in front of an
live.
audience. This is live right now. It is what it is. So maybe he should just wait a second before he goes on rampages on Truth Social. You know, it reminds me of when you got to talk to your grandmother. Like sometimes my grandma would be in the comments of some of my friends like, "Oh, you need to pull your shirt up or whatever." I'm like, "Grandma, get off Instagram. I don't want you on there." President Trump sometimes might have to pause on the commentary on social media. He's declaring things like other countries are testing nuclear warheads, and they're actually not. And then the Pentagon's not responding. He can wait a second on social media.
All I know
that's my biggest thing
is
right
that
here with this.
defending the kingdom is the foremost job of the
don't have a
leader.
kingdom.
And defending it from the barbarians at the gates, from Mongol hordes or Turks or whatever it is, requires catapults. So I am glad the leader of our great nation has a functional understanding of how catapults work. This would have been very welcome news.
And I'm going to just take the other
the
position
people.
on this entire argument is that he doesn't understand that his own party doesn't like to cancel people. So if he would please stop trying to cancel late night hosts that say one thing that he doesn't like about them, we can all move forward. He can continue talking about catapults. They can continue clowning him for that speech, and then we could all move on, right?
The
That's
catapults just got 10 feet longer. President Trump sat down with CBS's Norah O'Donnell over the weekend for his first interview with 60 Minutes in 5 years. Just months after parent company Paramount agreed to a $16 million settlement with him over that now infamous interview that 60 Minutes did with Kamala Harris ahead of the 2024 election.
Now, Trump joked about the settlement several times during the interview, even offering praise for the network's new direction under David Ellison, CEO of Paramount Skydance, and new editor-in-chief Barry Weiss. But the most pressing issue, of course, was the ongoing government shutdown, now in its 34th day, just 1 day shy of the record, with no deal in sight.
That's something about which the president voiced frustration, once again blaming Democrats. Take a listen.
What are you doing as president to end the shutdown?
All we're doing is we keep voting. I mean, the Republicans are voting almost unanimously to end it, and the Democrats keep voting against ending it. You know, they've never had this. This has happened like 18 times before. The Democrats always voted for an extension, always saying, give us an extension, we'll work it out. They've lost their way.
Trump also touched on several foreign policy topics, apparently bringing multiple printed news articles as evidence of the wars that he's ended. And he accused Russia and China of testing nuclear weapons.
I'm saying that we're going to test nuclear weapons like other countries do, yes.
But the only country that's testing nuclear weapons is North Korea. China and Russia are not.
No, Russia's testing
So
nuclear weapons.
my understanding
And China's testing them too, you just don't know about it.
That would be certainly very newsworthy.
They don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do. No, we're going to test because they test and others test. And certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing.
He also gave an answer that surprised some regarding Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro, possibly hinting at a goal of regime change in that country.
On Venezuela in particular, are Maduro's days as president numbered?
I would say, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Trump was also pressed about the indictments of several of his harshest critics, actions he claims aren't political retribution.
James Comey, John Bolton, Letitia James were all recently indicted. There's a pattern to these names. They're all public figures who have publicly denounced you. Is it political retribution?
You know what? You know who got indicted? The man you're looking at. I got indicted, and I was innocent.
Did you instruct the Department of Justice to go after them?
Not in any way, shape, or form. No, you don't have to instruct them because they were so dirty, they were so crooked, they were so corrupt.
I was just asking, is this retribution on your part?
No, it's the opposite. I think I've been very mild-mannered.
But perhaps the moment that garnered some of the harshest criticism was his support of ICE amid allegations of immigration officials detaining American citizens, deploying tear gas in residential neighborhoods, and destroying property like car windows. Here's what he said.
Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
You're okay with those tactics?
Yeah, because you have to get the people out.
Following that segment, it seemed that neither Republicans nor Democrats were entirely happy with the interview. Conservatives online again slammed CBS for the editing choices. Your Voice America host Bill Mitchell wrote on X, breaking, White House drops full 73-minute uncut Trump 60 Minutes interview. CBS slashed it to 27 minutes of spin. 47, that's the president, crushed it. Fake news exposed.
Meantime, former MSNBC host Joy Reid said O'Donnell and CBS didn't push the president hard enough. She wrote on Blue Sky, quote, I tuned in to the 60 Minutes Trump interview with low expectations, and I haven't been surprised. Nora let Trump lie with barely any pushback or provision of correction of facts. Where is the Aussie guy from Axios when we need him?
Is that Jonathan Swan she's talking about? My friend. I thought it was a fine interview.
Yeah,
They asked a wide range of questions. There was pushback. It wasn't, the host wasn't trying, Nora wasn't trying to talk over him and interrupt and correct him at all the times, but she said, you know, for instance, the nuclear testing, she said, well, my understanding is they're not testing, and she pushed back in a variety of ways. I thought it was a fine interview.
Yeah, I didn't.
I haven't had time to compare the edited to the full.
Yeah, I haven't
so
watched the 73 minutes. But from what I saw, I thought she gave him a
but
fair opportunity to talk, and I thought that he strongly responded to a lot of things that I thought would cause more controversy. Like, she brought up specific examples. I know people say with ICE, like, give me the example, when and where, how do you know it's an American citizen? She brought 3 proven examples of things that happened. He's like, yeah. And, you know, he said it firmly. So now you take that with how you want to take it. The president acknowledged specific events and instances. He acknowledged that there's some things he's telling Nora O'Donnell that she doesn't know about China testing nuclear weapons, according to what journalists say. You know what I mean? Is that, and what we understand from the Pentagon, who has not said a word about this, is that they are not. And so the president is saying something different. This is specific on record. So we can only do with it what our president is telling us. I mean, that's the information that we have. So I don't think it was a bad interview. And I don't also think she should have spent her time trying to, you know, go out of her way to prove
Joy Reid is
wrong.
just seeing what she wants to see. Joy Reid is mad about the ownership change. She's mad about everything. She was going to dislike the.
Well, there's some merit to the fact that she doesn't go too far. He just sued them for that show specifically, $16 million and won, and does not pretend like the Ellises who own CBS, Paramount, Skydance, all of that are not his
But that
good
wasn't
Trump
like
allies
a
and friends.
sycophantic interview.
I know, but she's very, you know, it wasn't a contentious interview at all either. It was just right modestly down the middle, I guess.
We got to run, but I would also say that the answer about Maduro doesn't necessarily mean that the U.S. is about to foster some kind of regime change. He just said his presidency might be coming to an end because his own people overthrow him and he's increasingly isolated. Whether we do something about it is something I'm very much against.
Well, we're doing some agitating right now, so it's good to connect those dots easily. I mean, it's easy to connect those dots.
Actress Jennifer Lawrence is revealing why she's now a little more hesitant when it comes to talking about President Trump.
Now, notably, before the president was elected in 2015, Lawrence said that if he won, it'd be the, quote, end of the world. After Trump won, Lawrence said that her head exploded and that she felt scarred and devastated.
But the world's still here. The Hunger Games star appears to be changing her tune now. Here she is during an interview with the New York Times.
I think, like, the first Trump administration was so wild, and just how can we let this stand? Like, I felt like I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But as we've learned, election after election, celebrities do not make a difference whatsoever on who people vote for. And so then what am I doing? I'm just sharing my opinion on something that's going to just add fuel to a fire that's ripping the country apart.
Lawrence added, quote, I want to protect my craft so that you can still get lost in what I'm doing, what I'm showing. If I can't say something that's going to speak to some kind of peace or lowering the temperature or some sort of solution, I just don't want to be a part of the problem. I don't want to make the problem worse.
The actress said that her production company is churning out movies that are aligned with her political ideology, and that's how she can be helpful. Yeah, I appreciate her saying that. She basically said, look, I'm a celebrity. Nobody cares about my opinion when I just spout off. Celebrities are not motivating people. You know, those videos where they're each saying one word at a time. Listen, vote. We need you to vote. Did you vote? It doesn't do anything. It's so annoying. We all find it obnoxious. So she's basically conceding that and saying she's going to make movies and there'll be political themes in her movies and you can see them or not and you can process the theme or not. I agree wholeheartedly with that approach. I wish celebrities would just shut up and just make movies and TV, and they can have political themes or whatever, but we don't really care about your opinion. That's how the American people feel. It's not even just like my attitude. And she seems to get that, which is why she's a little bit more in touch with reality than the average member of the Hollywood establishment, in my view.
I was one of the people that easily criticized Kamala's campaign for adding every single celebrity like it was 1990 in the books and throwing them on the stage.
Yeah.
That does not touch or connect with the average voter anymore, mostly because even I would say young voters, but everybody for the most part has access to information much quicker than turning into like when Oprah famously endorsed President Obama, turning into 4 o'clock Oprah and like, oh my God, she has Senator Obama on, you know, and it was a huge deal and everybody's like, looking what Oprah did and she affected millions of households. Yeah, that did. So we're not there anymore. And so to understand the times, you would understand that celebrity endorsements, unless they just happen naturally, don't really affect anything. It's almost like when Taylor Swift got involved with the election with Trump. She didn't have to. She could or couldn't have. And people kind of picked their sides on where they stood at. And I felt almost that she felt
she
pressured.
Endorsed Biden, and that was mostly all she did.
Well,
she didn't do much.
That's what I mean. She put it on her social media, and people got really riled up. She is Taylor Swift, so she has a massive following. People wanted her to kind of stay out of it. I don't think that you must stay out of it, but if you are extremely inclined, then you should support somebody in the ways by showing up for them or doing whatever you like. But you don't have to get on a stage and accept an award every time and give some political speech. I think we're all exhausted of that. I do think that artists like Jennifer Lawrence, who have a production company and the capacity to create art, a lot of times we see art reflect reality. So it is a good move to create stuff. I don't think she should create a docuseries on the current climate of President Trump and how bad he is in her view. But I think when you loosely add themes into movies, that's a beautiful way to express yourself in your art form. And so she should continue down that path. But a lot of people are coming at her like, woe is me. People stopped watching your movies when you came at Trump and now you realize you're losing your Republican audience. I think that she just like doing what she felt was appropriate at the time, jumping into politics, which was a norm for celebrities, you know, even in the last 10 years. It's been normal. It's actually like condemned if you don't say anything. And now she's realizing that the times just changed and she's being self-aware in that way. And that's a beautiful thing, a good thing to look at somebody who understands the temperature.
Attractive quality, right, self-awareness.
Yes, it is.
She's a good actress. I like her in a lot of things.
Do you think that turns you off to any of her movies if she took too much of a firm stance against Trump?
I don't care one way or the other. I don't care at all. I can appreciate the art even if I find the artist repellent because they're too far left or too far right. I don't care at all. If you're a good actor, I don't care how annoying you are. Like George Clooney, he's partisan Democrat. You know, we were talking about him yesterday. I think he's great in everything he's ever been in. Love his performance. Jennifer Lawrence is great. She's I like the Hunger Games movies a lot. She was in American Hustle. That was a pretty good movie. Yep. She's been in a lot of things I like, so, good for her. I'm trying to think who's a good example of a celebrity I also find really annoying, but I like there's probably a million of them. Oh, Mark Ruffalo, that's a great example. Yeah, super annoying, absurd views, one of my favorite actors. That's true of, what's his face? What's the guy? He was like a Venezuelan communist apologist too. Can't think of his name right now. He's a great actor.
But you're still watching it doesn't affect you in any way. You're kind of like, I
mean, there's only a handful of like genuinely conservative actors, like Kelsey Grammer, Jon Voight, a few others. John Leguizamo he's real liberal, right?
He got deep in the weeds. I think with Kelsey Grammer, that's
He's
a good example.
actor.
I was trying to find a good example, but Kelsey Grammer, I do like a lot of his programs that he at least oversees, and he's not involved. Like you don't see him, in a Frasier kind of way on the screen as the main character. You see him a lot of times executive producing a ton of projects that I do love. So I think like people just need to be mindful about why they're getting involved. Is it getting involved because of pressure to do the right thing according to like what you think the audience is saying, or is it pressure that you actually feel connected to this hometown candidate? Like Oprah's show in that instance was in Chicago. She was an institution in Chicago. Obama was from Chicago. There was a lot that connected her to him. He was going to be the first black president. She was inclined by his views. She said she'd never gotten involved in politics. And obviously, as a billionaire, she has Republican and Democrat friends. That's been clear over the last few years, even with Michelle Obama and former President Bush sitting next to each other sharing candy. That happens a lot, especially with people that are of a certain stature. But I think when you find a connection that is genuine, you should say something about it. And hopefully that doesn't affect people watching or supporting your movie.
Alec Baldwin, as obnoxious as he is in real life, and even maybe complicit in actual criminal, that whole shooting that happened on the set. He seems like a real nasty piece of work, but I think he was a great actor. 30 Rock is one of my favorite television shows of all time. And he actually convincingly portrays one of the most popular, like, conservative Republican people on television. Jack Donaghy, the television executive he plays, who's very Republican and very conservative, and is like the voice of reason on the show. It's a weirdly, even though it's about a liberal comedy show, it's Tina Fey, it kind of evinces in some weird way a conservative or absurdist worldview. It's a great show. The real gem in my view of all that era of mockumentary, 30 Parks and Rec, The Office, etc. 30 Rock was a real winner.
I think that with Jennifer Lawrence, I don't know that it affected that many people. Did she lose fans because this? It wasn't one of those significant.
I don't know if she's been.
Yeah, I think she's been chilling lately. I don't really know that this is a huge deal. People were coming at her on X though. I did take a look
for this.
Yeah, for saying like, "Oh, I lost fans. What was me?" And I'm like, the girl's just doing an interview. I'm sure she has a project coming up, which is why she's doing the interview. Like,
she also said, didn't she say in that interview that she cringes when she watches some of her old interviews because she thinks she's trying to come off as like she doesn't care, like she's laid back or something. I don't know. I saw some conversation about it on social media. And
I didn't see that part.
Stopped paying attention because honestly, I don't care that much what anyone has to say in this regard. But
now I'm going to look up what new project she has coming out.
Mm-hmm. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had some harsh words for President Trump, to say the least.
The California Congresswoman sat down with CNN for an interview and seemingly didn't hold back. She told journalist Alex Michelson that our founders did not want a king, and that's why they separated powers.
Then she said this.
How can I say this? It'll sound like I'm awful about Trump because he's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth, but anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah, I do. Because he's the President of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives. He's chilled the press.
Pelosi also criticized the ongoing ICE operations and how the administration has even scared people who are here illegally. NBC News reported on Monday that multiple sources indicate that the former speaker will not run for re-election in 2026. Her spokesperson, Ian Krager, said that she would not make any announcements until after Prop 50 is settled. Now, Prop 50 is a redistricting initiative in California.
Some on X thought that Pelosi's comments were a bit much. Broadcaster Piers Morgan wrote, "This is so absurd. Worse than Hamas terrorists, Iranian mullahs, Putin, Jong-un, Democrat dinosaurs like Pelosi don't know anything but over-demonizing Trump. it's why they're polling so badly. Yeah, worst thing on earth is a bit much. We have ISIS and cancer and, other malignant entities or whatever. And then the thing she gives examples for what makes him the worst thing on earth, or like the Supreme Court says no to some of the things Trump. Where the Supreme Court maintains its independence, it is not subsumed by Trump's whatever. I agree that Congress needs to do its job more, and the House of Representatives is not. I don't know that that's really Trump's fault. Honestly, it's kind of just the executive branch has gobbled up more and more power for itself, and Democrats and Republicans played a role in that. Biden, Obama, Bush, etc. It's just an ongoing process that Trump has been a part of, yes, but it is not really unique to him. So
I don't understand.
Old and mad.
You're disturbed by this language that she's using. President Trump is the man of using inappropriate language. He's like the face of that across the board. So you can't be disturbed by you overstating something. President Trump surely overstates. I mean, all the people, Piers Morgan is disturbed by somebody overstating something. It's like, all right, alrighty. You can't possibly be clutching your pearls. What you do over there at your Jerry Springer show. Cut it out, okay? He needs to stop. Everybody needs to stop. All she said is that she doesn't like him. He's vile. She thinks he's the worst. This language is not new in politics, right? She truly doesn't like the man. He's condescended her.
Sanctioned for
I know, but he's condescended her multiple times. She's condescended him. Okay, they really don't like each other. They're truly not friends.
She
and
said
that's
he's the
okay.
worst thing on earth, and I disagreed with it. Like, that's as far as it goes. She can say whatever she wants. She's going to retire, possibly, it sounds like.
Well, Nancy Pelosi is 85 years old.
She's made enough money now from her stock portfolio, her husband's portfolio.
She's allowed to be rich, just like President Trump's allowed to be rich. But she's 85 years old.
Yep,
she's been powerful. She's been effective, and she's been well liked in San Francisco
and very
and beyond.
effective at stopping.
So she's
making sure congressmen.
Nobody stays in that position that long.
Stocks, yes.
Nobody stays in position that long unless they're well liked, and so she obviously is. Here they're
very wealthy now.
And so now we have to figure out what the next steps are, because as you know, both parties agree that some of the older people, and 85 is a solid age that you could have retired. You could have even retired earlier. Like most people would say, anybody in their family working at 85 can go ahead and enjoy however they want to enjoy life.
She still had some more
she should
paydays to collect.
I hope I'm getting paid at 85. I'll collect all them paydays. But putting that aside, she had an illustrious career, and so she could be ready to retire. She served her country well. She's going to go forward. And a lot of young people were hoping that she moves over so that new people can be put into the race. You feel this way too. You don't like seeing people of a certain age in politics continuing on and on and on. And with Trump as our oldest inaugurated president, I'm glad he stopped saying he's going to go for a third term, because nobody wanted to see him pushing 85 as president. We'd love to see new, fresh voices. Well, tell Steve Bannon that. So we like to see new, fresh voices that understand
gladly.
Our
put him on the phone. I'll tell him.
Constitution works, and the president. I'm glad he finally got around to understand that he can't run. He can't be J.D. Vance's vice president
that all along.
and then move forward. Well, he shouldn't be antagonizing the American public in these ways.
Now we're tone policing.
He shouldn't be antagonizing. If you don't want Nancy Pelosi calling him vile, then he shouldn't be antagonizing people who are not even his enemies, saying, I'll see what I got to do. I don't know if I'm going to run again. It should be a firm no. I can't do it.